July 27th, 2020. Why is July 27th important?
So that's the day that my wife and I got married, and it's almost 9 years ago. So I thought it was just complete irony on how that's also now my hire date for starting on the river. So very exciting day and very memorable.
Join Charlie Maloof as he explores the personal journeys of Broad River Retail's very own memory makers. Welcome to Stories from the River.
Jordan, I'm so glad you could be here with us today.
Yeah, Charlie, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
You were like the first person when we said we're doing a podcast who said, I'm in. And I said, we got to get Jordan on the podcast.
Absolutely.
You ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, let's go. I think you're ready. All right. First of all, before we get going, Jordan, before you joined the river, less than 2 years ago now, tell us about your background, your career, what you were doing, and then the events that kind of led you here.
Absolutely. So majority of my background's in training and development. And so that's in multiple industries. So it's been in educational technology, healthcare, and now in retail. So it's just with COVID and everything that happened, as we're all aware, right? Furloughs happened and things. So it was kind of where I got a furlough, and then so happened a foot in the door opportunity came in with the river, and it was kind of just like other opportunities are coming through as well. And here I am now almost 2 years later, and couldn't be happier with the position opportunity with the company.
That's awesome. Where are you from originally?
So Chicago.
Are you a Cubs fan?
I am a Cubs fan.
I love it. Are you a Packers fan also?
No, but my wife is, so that makes the holidays very nice between our families.
Yes. Are you a Bears fan?
I am.
Okay. All right. That's great. I see a lot of folks who are like Bears versus Packers in their families.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Cubs fan.
Okay, perfect.
I grew up loving the Cubs. So we'll be aligned there. Okay. So Jordan, just before we get it going, I know we kind of traded a few notes to prep. What is most important to you personally and why?
For me, it's three things. Main thing is going to be faith. Grew up in a Christian house. My dad is still a pastor part-time, but also a hospice chaplain. So that's been instilled into my family and holds dear to us. Mm-hmm. And then next thing is probably going to be family. We always had kind of like the Sunday afternoon where it's kind of either sports are on or we'd always barbecue outside. Mm-hmm. So we always really enjoyed that quality time that we had. And then also, it's going to be sports. My whole family, we all played sports. My dad played minor league basketball.
Oh, wow.
My brothers and I, we played basketball collegiately, but then 2 or 3 sports at a time. So it's mom going to and from practices and getting food here and there and grabbing this equipment and grabbing those kids. So those 3 things are just real and instrumental in my life right now.
That's awesome. And that's a great order too. You played basketball collegiately?
Yeah, for 2 years.
What position?
I would like to say center, but point guard is what I played just due to height.
I probably would not have guessed center. I've stood next to you, so that's good. Okay, so you've been with us for nearly 2 years. We shared that. And has your career with us progressed in just those short, less than 24 months?
It absolutely has. So my initial role when I came in was the customer care project lead.
Okay.
So mainly more is that just going to work on multiple projects and spearhead those within innovation from completion from A to Z like a project manager. And the first one was Salesforce that brought in. So now since it's basically standing up, developed, integrated, and moved along, now then I have a new role, which is a program manager of systems training.
Okay, we're going to get into Salesforce and program manager. Your title says, systems training. We were joking about that. So I've not seen it written like that. So tell me what program manager, systems training is or means or does.
Absolutely. So yeah, it definitely looks like it's almost like 2 titles. So program manager is more of the training documentation, the prepping, and the aligning exactly with the actual documentation, which can go with videos, articles, FAQs, and things like that. We can put on like an Ashley Discovery for retail and so forth. Then the systems training is becoming that subject matter expert, knowing the ins and outs, knowing how to go ahead and implement everything from A to Z, and so much more on all our departments and how it aligns to a specific role, and to be able to show them exactly how they can use that within a Storus, within a CXM, within an Ashley Direct, and a Salesforce.
So helpful to have that skill set. I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I want to go back to your first day, July 27th, 2020. So you'd been furloughed, and we picked you up as a free agent, and
Yes.
So glad and grateful that we did. Do you remember? I tend to believe most people remember the first day. You don't have much of an excuse. It wasn't that long ago. Do you remember your first day?
I do. I know that when I walked in through the doors, Christian Adams greeted me at the door, and we did a tour of the the whole entire campus at Fort Mill. So we went through the offices there and got to meet individuals such as Tracy, Manny, Heather. We went down then to the downstairs and went to operations to check out the warehouse. And then it was more of Christian's like, I don't really have a spot for you yet since you just started. So sat me next to IT, met some great people, and really got endowed into literally all of our systems. And then went to lunch at Famous Dave's. And before I knew it, the day was over, and everyone's like, Famous Dave's is always seems like a go-to.
We get you barbecue, and then we get you on your way.
Absolutely.
Did you and Tracy know each other before you joined us?
We did. So Tracy and I actually both worked at Food Buy.
Okay.
And it was more of like, know of Tracy, and Tracy knew of Jordan, but such a large company.
Gotcha.
But she's just been so instrumental on just professional growth, and then everything here at the River she's done has just been fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Furnishing life's best memories. 4 simple yet powerful and succinct words. What have been some of your best memories thus far in just your 22 months now at the River?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I would say it's going to all the store just openings, the grand reopenings we've had, and then recently going to Wilmington. I think just getting to know the people I've been traveling with, but then just being a part of something bigger than ourselves. Retail as an industry is new to me. So just being able to celebrate it with everyone, in person too, and during the COVID times was, I imagine, very challenging, but very rewarding for us all to be there. So I think being a part of something like that has just been just amazing just to be a part of.
Yeah. And knowing that you're a former college athlete, one thing about retail, as you're discovering, you get a scorecard at the end of every day. If you win or lose. And so it scratches that competitive itch as well. Absolutely. Have you noticed that?
I have. Yeah. I've been able to see it, and just being able to witness to some of the reporting and some of the aspects, and being in the store to see those interactions and relationships built with guests. It's just very powerful to watch.
I think everyone needs a Jordan Reilly in their company. I'm glad that we have ours. And it takes a unique skill set, I think, to do what you do with systems training and program managing. And we've had some interactions on some of the projects we've worked on together. What do you love about what you get to do every day? Like, what do you love about your job?
I think I really just try and just really find a reward in just seeing people succeed. I love showing them the ins and outs and everything that can help, but not just for their own role, but cross-departmentally. And then as the company as a whole, on ultimately, this is going to impact our guests in this way. This is going to help reduce manual work you have to do on your end. Big believer in automation, which comes with innovation. So I think it's just been fantastic, but I just find it very rewarding to be able to know that I can help someone in their role if they're struggling in any type of area, and they don't need to become an expert, but any way we can do to help them, I think, is just extremely rewarding.
Yeah, you're really empowering people to do it better, faster, and easier, all those important critical touch points. Okay, so since you've been here, what is something that you've learned about yourself that surprised even you, something you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, so I think coming in with Salesforce in the way it was and in the status it was in too.
Not great.
We can say
that it wasn't going well.
No. Yeah, no. And just the status it was in is that was project. That was the red alert. That was the, hey, I need you to divert all your attention, all your knowledge, all your resources into it, and kind of learn it inside and out. So bring in prior knowledge of Salesforce, but more on the subject power user side, and now being on the development side and the web design and everything, and exactly how we wanted to use it, and more specifically for our company. So I think doing that and then implementing and rolling out to customer care and retail and all of our internal specialty departments, like an order management and returns integrity, I think it's paid huge dividends, and our customers, I think, are the recipients in that manner.
I agree. And it's easier to do business when we have more communication. It goes for better morale at all those departments that you just mentioned. Is that what you're most proud of thus far in your career? Like the Salesforce implementation, or is there a certain accomplishment or another achievement that really stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, the Salesforce one, to me, I think it's like the nail on the head. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think that's been able to kind of put my hand and my footprint on it is kind of like, I've kind of been able to own this and just see it, like just have fruit in it and just watch it grow, and it's rooted, and now it's able to go ahead and just watch it kind of stand up on its own and watch everyone just seamlessly go ahead and go about their day and get things where they need to go.
Have you ever had that much first person impact in an organization before? Like where what you're going down to the end user who's like getting those that feedback loop is coming back immediately, and like you're instantly making a difference and helping them.
I would say probably not. I'd say this is probably the first time, and I think it's just kind of like eye-shattering to kind of just be like, wow, like this is something where I thought I know I'd be invested in and spent a lot of time in, a lot of hours, a lot of manpower to go into it, but now to see it come to fruition, just to see all that time paid off, and then everyone's unpleasantness on kind of what's going on, communication gaps we're having, upset guests, and now seeing things just slowly kind of dwindle, and it's kind of like riding the ship. So just very, very proud of everything we've gone through with that.
So you're like the go-to guy, but have you ever been stumped with someone who brought you a problem and said, ooh, well, I got to go figure that out. We hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely come up. I mean, even here, like when it was like Salesforce related stuff, and I was kind of just like, I don't know where to turn for this. So it's kind of just like, either have to figure it out or need to go ahead and go to a third party that we had with Overground Cloud and kind of be like, hey, I don't know what to do. This is what we're wanting to do. Is this possible? What's the financial ramifications of this?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here? But I'm always the person where it's like, show me once and then I'll take it from there.
Yeah. And I'm sure you ultimately figured it out.
Have to, right?
Yeah. Okay. Shifting gears a little bit. So sometimes when you're on video calls or meetings with me, it's like, where in the world is Jordan Reilly? You're a lot of different places. So I just want to switch gears to like work flexibility, training, and COVID. So let's talk about, do you work remotely?
I do. I work from home.
And how's that working out? And how have you found that it's helped or hurt your work-life balance? Do you have good boundaries?
I would say that I do. And I would like to think that I do for the most part. With having now a second kid too, it makes things a little bit challenging because my wife's at home with our two kids. But having a home office and kind of having that structure around it too, of knowing kind of the day before, what's my day look like? And as in like dad's in the office, so the door's locked, the door's closed. I'll come down, when there's free time and things like that. Yeah. But I think it's real important to figure out that work-life balance and knowing, can an email wait? If something's past, let's say 6 o'clock, can that wait? And can it really be invested into family time and that quality time that everyone so I think yearns for and needs?
Well, it's having kids and young kids, and you'll find this as your kids kind of get older and they can move around easily and open the locked door, what have you, working out of a home office early in the pandemic. I mean, and people just like, hey, that's just real life. Or I remember I was on I'll just take a quick diversion here. I was on a national panel speaking, and I was one of the panelists, and it came my time to speak. And the kids, this was early in the pandemic, so they were doing homeschooling, and one of my boys walked into the door, and I couldn't say anything or break like eye contact with the camera to say, get out, go. And they know they're not supposed to go into, but he just walked in, walked around, and I'm just like, okay, don't laugh. Don't. It just came right here. And then just got into the camera with me. And then I had to acknowledge them, like, sorry guys. But I got more feedback from that saying that they really appreciated, like, hey, that's just kind of what happens. But yeah, you've been at like coffee shops. I've seen you in Florida, Chicago, wherever. Sometimes you're cold, sometimes you're warm. So it's like where in the world is Jordan Reilly? But but you always get the job done wherever you are. So what are your primary means of conducting training in this virtual remote world? Is it in person sometimes, or is it mostly like over video?
So I think just during the pandemic in general, right? Like, it's like, all right, we envision, I think, a classroom style training, right? So whether it's, an RX or a senior retail leadership meeting or new hires in classes, I think we've become very adaptable and very flexible during these times. Not to say we've been casual, but we've been very accommodating, and this is just the way it's going to be right now. So whether that's in person going to stores, it could be in person at one of our corporate offices, it could be over Teams. It's the capacity in certain rooms we've had, maybe we've only been able to reach 10 people. So we kind of just, I think, have adjusted appropriately on what the audience is or who's attending at that time, and then making the proper accommodations into how we're going to go and address that session specifically.
And maybe even thinking through, okay, well, this will be video training, so let's figure out what the platform to deliver it, how we'll form our training around that. By the way, I do have a suggestion for us on that. I think everyone who's going to share their screen needs training on how to share their screen. Hey, can you see my screen right now? I mean, is that like, come on now, you gotta give me something like that. Like,
yeah, that's like a 101, right? Where you're kind of on there and it's like, this is how you share your screen, and it's almost just like, all right, you got to click here, you got to go there, you got to do this, and sometimes you don't know if your screen's on or you're muted or whatnot. So
the one that gets me is, hey, I can't see you guys right now. Well, just get out of presentation mode. Your screens can still be shared. We need some screen sharing, like 101 and 102 training. I really think that's like something. I'm just going to see it. Maybe I know someone who can help it.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Hey, do you have a favorite Broad River story or memory that you can share with us?
Yeah, it was probably the first. Well, I'll go ahead and do one. A more recent one. Sam Bloom and I went to Wilmington, and we went back a couple different times. Honestly, I think it's just rocking out to some tunes in the car. And then when we weren't, just getting to know each other personally, professionally, just visions for ourselves, and kind of where do we see, the river going, and just talking about personal development, professional development, just vision and just aligning values and talking about our kids and everything at all. So I think it's been that as a more recent memory, I think is just held true. And I just really value the time that we were able to spend together. I
think I'd like to be a fly on the wall or the steering wheel for some of those conversations. Some of I agree. Like when we used to do the Orange Crush tours, some of the biggest laughs and best memories were just cutting up and joking on the car rides with a bunch of folks in the car. What kind of music does Sam Bloom jam out to? I mean, the world wants to know here.
I mean, if the world wants to know, it's like I apologize to Sam Bloom, but she listens to just about everything.
That's such a safe answer.
It's a safe answer, as being my boss. But
smart answer.
She does love some rap, so there might be some Drake on. Okay. Some Lil Wayne might make an appearance, but I'll just leave it as that.
I don't know that I saw that about Sam. That's did you know? Did you know? Sam, we'll get you on the podcast and you can get Jordan back on that one. We'll ask you what Jordan jams out to. Okay. We said we talked about Salesforce.com. So what was your role in the launch of that for the organization? I think you said you came on when we were in the throes of the implementation. Maybe it kind of gotten off the rails a little bit. Maybe that's a safe comment. But what was your role and what is, just go into what does Salesforce.com do for us and what do we use it for?
Absolutely. I think off the rails is probably a pretty appropriate response is what it was, because I kind of got here and I was kind of just like, well, what are we what's the intention for this? I know we have a financial commitment to it, right? But kind of digging deeper is in the root of what exactly do we want to utilize this for as far as a company goes. So Salesforce.com with my role was, I think it wore multiple hats. Envisioned I was going to kind of help assist with the onboarding of it. And then as new hires came on or existing users, we're going to go and walk them through how to utilize it for their specific role and for their department and how they can go ahead and be able to communicate on the system instead of using email to another department. So customer care can send something to retail. Then over time, that went ahead and just manifested and become a more of point of contact, ownership, trainer, web design.
This guy knows what he's talking about. Keep throwing more at him.
Yeah. It's kind of what it was, right? So that was kind of more of, and now, hey, we want to take it this step further. And hey, now we want to bring on this new department. And then it's like, oh, hey, home delivery is coming on. And now we have EMT, right? And then here's OM. And now here's delivery scheduling. And now here's retail. And then it's just.
And on and on and on.
Yeah, and I would say the list just goes on. So I think it's just having complete ownership of it, and it's kind of just been like my baby as everything I've had. And so it's more of just, the biggest thing I think it does is it really has bridged our gap communication-wise internally for us between retail and customer care, I'd say for the most part. Just being able to have a line of contact as far as I know when I send this, it's going to be sent to the right person on the first attempt, and it's going where it needs to go instead of let's say a spray and pray email.
Well, even as just a comprehensive ticketing solution where nothing gets missed and it just brings together all these disparate locations. And so, like you said, the spray and pray email, that's it. We're much better. We're so much more synchronized in inputting a call from the guest and taking care of it and seeing it all the way through to resolution, which is really, really important.
Super important. I mean, I think getting things routed where they need to go on the first time, a lot of stuff on the back end, but for any of our users who's in customer care, retail, order management, and so forth, the ability for them just to do a couple clicks and get something sent off to where it needs to go for the end user and have that information up front. That way they don't have to jump to a source or another one of our systems. I think it's huge. It saves a lot of time. It gets a response back to the guest, and hopefully it alleviates any escalation that potentially could be happening, which could be a cancellation or things of that sort.
Absolutely. So we've seen those come down as we've gotten better and more proficient at Salesforce.com. We love a good project. So other than Salesforce, Project Seahawk and then Coastal Connection. So when we were looking at Project Seahawk, we said, well, this is going to be a big project. We need someone to help us executive manage it and oversee it, project manage it. What was Project Seahawk and what was Coastal Connection?
Yeah, so Project Seahawk to me, I'm thinking during our acquisition, with HEW, and then our pre-Storis conversion that we just rolled out here recently. It's more of like, we need to basically align all of our executives, all of our department heads, and just make sure everyone's aligned in their tasks and responsibilities and make sure everything's up to date, daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then so much more with that is, all right, now we need to coordinate logistically, travel arrangements, who's going where, who's doing what, and just keeping track of all of that. So I became that point of contact and hounding people down via email or Teams or in person if they're there, and kind of just like, make sure please that you've updated your tasks and all of our data, making sure it's accurate out of DW from there too. And that way we have data to go ahead and go off of with the analytical side on what we're getting into.
So UNCW, they're known as the Seahawks. So our acquisition, which before we could announce it was called Project Seahawk, codenamed. And so you helped us really oversee that project. And I think you were recommended by one of our executives. And I said, oh, that's awesome. And so we partnered together on that, and it was went really well. And people think acquisitions are just like easy to do. No, it's like a transplant. I mean, you're bringing 50 people over into different systems, different operating ways of doing business. And so it's a lot of work and a lot of things to piece together and keep people apprised of. And so there was a project to kind of get to the acquisition and all that goes into that. And then once we did that, the Coastal Connection was bringing them onto to unify the ERP system and consolidate.
Absolutely.
And so you really oversaw, as project manager and liaison, both of those projects, sometimes being in person. I know you just came back from Wilmington.
I did. Yeah. I like you said too, I mean, it's kind of managing both of those, right? And then kind of juggling that. And then now with like the post-stores conversion now with the ERP and everything too, making sure, everyone can log in, everyone knows how to utilize it. And then it's more of just continuing us to go there and just invest in them and the time and the importance of change is a part of the way it is, but kind of just reassure them that this is going to be fantastic, kind of stay with us and do some reassuring.
And making sure no stone gets left unturned. Like I said, everyone needs a Jordan Reilly. And so there's always going to be projects and special projects, and you need a ninja who can help you tackle and get done special projects. Okay, so since you've returned from Wilmington and we just completed the conversion of stores, like you mentioned, and those two stores from Profit Systems over to Storis, what's the status update on Coastal Connection? How'd the conversion go from your perspective?
So this was my first Profit to Storis conversion. So there's like no prior knowledge of anything. But I think overall, from what I've seen and what I've been able to witness, I think everything went extremely well. There would be hiccups and bumps in the road, I imagine, which would happen with any type of acquisition and jumping ERPs, CRMs, or whatever a company would utilize. But I think having boots on the ground was extremely vital, and it was extremely critical, as you could probably imagine, just to show that these people care, they're truly invested. We are now unified, and we can thrive together, which is our word for this year. So I think that has been super transparent. We've been super helpful with them. So I think the more we can continue to stress the importance of unity and we are one team with them, I think we'll pay dividends for our leaders that are there.
Well, you're so right. No, I mean, everyone wants to feel like they belong. And the worst thing is for those teammates, now memory makers, to feel like they're orphaned. And juxtaposed, we want them to feel like, no, you're part of the family now. You belong. And you are a memory maker. And so that's part of it, like making sure that we can connect and cohesively adopt them in, make sure that they feel like they're now part of us. Okay. I know that you don't have a large data set on like company experience relative to some of our others who we've had on the podcast who've been with us from 12 years to 17 years, but you have still seen a lot in almost 2 years. So during your tenure, how have you seen the company grow, adapt, and change?
Wow. Growth, I think, is a fantastic word to use. I think that it's kind of like we're busting at the seams as far as potential growth and expansion. I mean, it's kind of like, where do we go next? I mean, just with the distribution centers, I mean, in stores and now in acquisition, and a lot has happened in just under 2 years that I've just been able to witness, and it's very eye-opening, and it should just be eye-opening to anyone who's either look to join the river or anyone who's here, that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and it's extremely special. Very fortunate to be here. the growth is literally exponential, and I think it's unlimited. So I'm very excited to see kind of what comes next.
Okay, so if you could go back to your 7th wedding anniversary on July 27th, 2020, what would you tell yourself about what this journey, what life is going to be like at Broad River Retail, at the river?
It's not going to be what you expect.
What'd you expect?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's being transparent. I let Christian know it too when I started. I mean, to me, I was like, all right, this is just like another job. I mean, we're during COVID. I think you just always had a lot of emotions going on and a lot of uncertainty, just even in the world of kind of what's going on, what's next, just trying to take it one day at a time. So to me, I was just like, this is just another job. And so when I look back now, almost 2 years later, I'll be like, you have no idea what you're in for. And it's kind of like, strap yourself in, because it's going to be an amazing ride, and it has been so far. So looking forward to many more years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Jordan, I know that you're a man of self-reflection, and as you I want you to fast forward to after those many more years with the river, and you're at the tail end, or you've just recently retired, and you're reflecting back in this future state, saying, what are people going to remember me for? How are they going to remember me? What are they going to say to me about me? How would they describe you in just 3 words? What are the 3 words you want to have described you?
Wow. So I think innovation comes to mind for me off the bat. Genuine or authenticity. And then I'd probably say compassionate.
That's great.
Yeah, just want people to know that I'm Jordan personally, professionally. I'm Jordan Monday as I will be on Tuesday. So what you see is kind of what you get.
And I love that you led with innovation. So innovation, genuine authenticity, is great. And compassion. Yeah.
Compassion.
Yeah. That's a very strong, human, important for any people to have. And I'm sure that comes from your upbringing and, the way you were raised as well. Okay, I know you've got a great support system with your family. I know it always takes a village to achieve phenomenal success. I'm sure that's no different with you. But there's always folks who don't get the accolades that they probably deserve. So in your life, or your contributors to your success, who are the unsung heroes, and what have they done, or what do they do for you?
Yeah, no, that's another great question. So unsung heroes, I mean, to me, it's got to be my dad. Right. I mean, I think it just has to be just everything that I feel like he's always been the person where he's kind of like, I'm going to put my family first. If I have to take some money out of retirement to help here or there or whatever it may be, at the drop of a hat, he's there. I think it also goes with his profession, too, is he just will talk to anybody. He could be at Starbucks, maybe not like Renee Bradley as much as frequent, but he's there a lot.
Renee.
But he can just have a conversation with anybody, and it's just so personable. But just to kind of sit back and always watch and just see how people should be treated, and just the interaction and the dialogue, and just personable on how things go. He's definitely the unsung hero that always kind of stands out.
Well, he doesn't have to be unsung anymore. Jordan's dad, you can subscribe to this podcast series, and you heard it here first. I'm sure he'll love hearing that. So, Jordan, what's the best advice you've ever received?
So the best advice I've ever received is embrace failure.
Really? And do you remember who told you that?
So it was my boss at Enterprise, actually. And I actually mentioned this to Manny during our interview, and we were talking about Enterprise and the background and the protections and everything that goes with that job. But first job out of school, and it was just kind of like, didn't understand probably too much of it being so young. But I mean, looking on it now, just like, it's okay to fail, and you're never going to be successful unless you go through those ups and downs and go into those valleys, personally or professionally. So I always use that now for anyone that I talk with too, is that it's okay to embrace failure and take it on kind of head on.
I love that, by the way. That's great. That's great advice. So you've had some experiences, before the river and now at the river, and you've been able to juxtapose. You thought this was going to be another job, like you said, and it turned out to something you see exponential growth. You want to be here for a long time. So it's got to all tie into this kind of mystical word called culture. I like to say that you can't microwave culture. It's more of a crackpot mentality. But what is your favorite thing about our culture, and what do you think makes it unique or special relative to like others that you've experienced?
Working at and coming from larger corporations, I think some words get thrown out very loosely, and it's not so much a practice what you preach. I love, honestly, just the investing in people. And it goes into the work-life balance and other perks and incentives that I think that we offer. But I mean, just getting back to actually investing in our people, grooming them, helping them grow personally and professionally. And I think having those kind of transparent and casual conversations, but also rooting those even deeper into kind of like, what kind of growth are you looking at here, right? And we're going to invest in you personally, and we're going to get you that opportunity. So I think it's really going back to investing in our people, and we're practicing it and preaching that, I think, speaks volumes.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you said that. We do have some sayings that kind of help us remind us about that. Like we like to say to new hires, your success is our scorecard. The human capital mindset is all about it's career paths for everyone. If people are our greatest asset, we want to invest in our asset and see them grow. And another one we like to say is to get that exponential growth that you talked about, we need people, because we say we will always grow as far as our people will take us or not. So we have to have growth-minded people who want to grow, and will grow from the inside out. Every investment we've made in our people thus far has paid off. And so if past is prologue, I think that's been the right strategy for us. You mentioned thrive earlier. So thrive is our word of the year. And we were talking about that. What does it mean for you to thrive in 2022?
So thrive for me personally, I think is, it might even be twofold. One, I think it's kind of taking the next step as far as like with a new role, and kind of seeing sky's the limit with it. Kind of where can we kind of take it? Kind of, I love also too that we're also kind of like, we see talent and we see people, and we'll see a need, and then we want to go ahead and fill that. So I think that the first part of it is extremely vital, and it's extremely important for us to be able to help grow. And then the second part of that too, I think, is just the continued learning and education with our people, just to be able to not just give back, but also for new people coming in to kind of see it without blinders, as in, wow, this is really almost like unexpected. Kind of like, wow, I didn't think it was going to be like this, or another role like I mentioned earlier. It's more so going to be like, wow, I see myself here long term, not just a stepping stone, let's say, for another opportunity, whether internal or external.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you connect like the Thrive and Purpose series to that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed all the different series that we've had. And I mean, there was one even this morning, just about finances and budgeting and things like that, where I think that us investing into our people and giving them means to help with finances or mental health or whatever it may be, I think speaks volumes from leadership. So from you and Manny especially. Well,
I think thriving has to be in all facets of your life. And so whether it's physical health, spiritual health, mental health, professional health, or just financial health. I mean, all these things, relationship health, all these things kind of build up into thriving. Because I mean, humans are complex beings. We're people. We're not just one dimensional. We're multidimensional, diverse, beautiful human creatures. And so we have to hit all those aspects to have a full, fulfilling life. So, what advice, going back to the advice theme, would you offer to another fellow memory maker to help him or her thrive this year?
I would say, like, kind of just take care of yourself. I mean, everything through the pandemic, I think, at least for me personally, it's just always trying to help other people. And I think you always have to also kind of take care of yourself too, before you can get yourself right, before you can also go ahead and help others.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think it's more of kind of get yourself in that gut check and then be able to go ahead and kind of spread from there.
I like this. May sound a little bit too like graphic or whatever, but pull the oxygen mask down on you first. It's saying the same thing. In order for you to help others, you have to be healthy yourself. So that's great advice. I really like that. What do you think are or have been the secrets to your success?
I would say just the right people in my life, whether it was personally at that time, but professionally. I mean, I think the managers I've had have been very blessed and very fortunate. I always feel like everything happens for a reason, the way it's supposed to happen, whether good or bad. So the managers I think I've had and the roles I've had at that time, I think have led to this moment. So whether you get taken out of state, you get taken into a new industry, want to try something different, want to expand on your current skill sets and experience, just don't be afraid, I'd say, to go ahead and try something new.
That's great. I'm a creature of habit, and I don't know if you are or not, but I like to study habits. What are your best daily habits, and that have served you well?
Yeah, no, another great question. So I need to get back to a more regular exercise routine. I know that when I was first married.
You just had a kid. I mean,
Yeah. There's kind of like when there's a free moment, it's kind of like dad mode. Kind of steps in. But used to, being able to go about 3 days a week and be able to play basketball with some guys before work. So that was fantastic. And then that would get the cardio going, and then be able to get, just a good breakfast after that. But I need to get back to that habit. But otherwise, I mean, usually it's kind of quiet time for me. So is that meditation? Is that prayer? Is that something that I try and do usually before I go to bed? But would love to get back to doing that plus a cardio or some type of physical ability with exercise to be able to do that on a daily basis.
Awesome. Other than your dad, and just going into mentorship, where or from whom, and maybe it is your dad primarily, who gave you that great advice, where or from whom do you get your mentorship?
Yes, I mean, it probably is my father for the most part. Speaking of Sam Bloom, maybe some kudos now versus the music choices. But you
can go ahead and give Sam some kudos.
We can give Sam some kudos. I would probably say Sam Bloom.
Okay.
I know that she's probably, and she's been here a while, so she's probably mentored a lot of people, whether they might say it or not. But she's had her hand or footprint on, I think, a lot of people's growth, a lot of opportunities. And she's just, I mean, as anyone knows, you just even have a conversation with her. I mean, she's special. She's fantastic. It's more than just being at the river. I think she really cares about you personally too, and wants to see you succeed.
Yeah.
So she's helped me, I would say, aligned where I'm at, and will continue to do it for the next Jordan or whoever else may come into her life. So she gets big kudos.
Well, she is a fantastic leader. I know she'll appreciate hearing those words. So what about, where do you get your inspiration and motivation to kind of, what fuels you, fires you up?
Probably goes back to even like the current role. I mean, my passion is training and personal growth for our current employees, our new employees, watching them be successful and succeed. So that kind of drives me. I mean, if we're talking years ago, I mean, it's sports, right? You're always trying to be the best. It's just competition, and you're just thriving. Once again, with our words, like a plug. As far as the kind of go in there, but that's kind of what fuels you, right? You always want to be the best, so it's just keep practice. So that's probably what I would kind of lead with.
Do you think others from the outside looking in would have a different perception about Broad River than what it actually is?
Potentially. I could probably see that. I mean, I know for me, especially like when I came in, I was just like, whoa, like this is a retail company. Like I've never done retail. Like I'm normally on the consumer or customer side kind of going in somewhere. But I think it may or may not have a stigma or connotation with it, maybe just depending upon their viewpoint. But it might depend on also the person or the way they're kind of looking at it, but maybe or maybe not.
So a stigma because we're a retail company, but we're not just a retail company, I guess.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's what I'm insinuating.
Yeah. I got there. So what about you? What is something, about you that would surprise your fellow memory makers?
Oh man. So two things. One is that high school and college, I was very fearful of public speaking. I would get like the hand tremors and the sweats.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
And kind of
You're
like
a very extroverted, sociable guy.
Yeah. So that was more of just like, it didn't make any sense. But the second one is I absolutely love puzzles. Love puzzles.
What kind of puzzles?
Oh man.
Crossword puzzles? Like
Oh no. So actual puzzle, like with actual jigsaw pieces.
Okay.
And
Jigsaw
like
puzzles.
doing those. Yeah. So like I get my daughter who's 3 and we'll do them like crazy. We'll have a 50-piece puzzle, then a 1,000-piece puzzle, and sometimes they'll sit on our kitchen table and we'll just tackle it when we have a moment. But if I can keep her there.
My wife really likes puzzles.
Love them.
Is it just like seeing something come to fruition?
Yeah, possibly. And I mean, to me, it's almost like a de-stressor. I think sometimes people might do it into exercise or listen to music or just like driving in the car and going for a ride. Mine is doing puzzles. Very, very unique.
Well, it's a great de-stressor. Disconnects your mind to be able to focus on something like that. It's great. Hey, if you could change something about the company today with the wave of your Jordan Reilly magic wand, what would that thing be?
So it'd probably honestly be some type of benefit or incentive or financial package into infertility. I've been at companies where they do that. My wife and I struggle with infertility. But now kind of with everything's happened, we've been very blessed to have 2 beautiful girls. But infertility, I think it's just a lot of things people struggle with. So people are more open or not, but it's a little extra incentive, I think, for people I think may or may not be in the company that might be struggling with that. I mean, it's a huge financial hurdle that people have to overcome, but it's also physical, mental, emotional, and so forth. So if I had a magic wand and had ample amount of money, that's probably something I would do.
A lot of these things, when I ask this question, comes back to like the health benefits and things of that nature. So it's super important to people. Well, let's say that, I'm the guy on the front porch or the retirement, drinking the lemonade or iced tea, and it's my time to go. And you've done such a great job. I'm going to retire, and we're going to appoint you president and CEO. And today's your first day in the role. What would be your first order of business?
Don't know if I'd want the role, but if I had to take the role on,
be careful.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I would probably say the ability to take our current PTO, and if you don't use it, you could roll it over.
Yeah.
So if I don't have a couple of days there, I don't use it or lose it, I could roll them over. So then maybe it turns into a long weekend or a little time at the beach or at the mountains, or someone be able to use it for a mini vacation or something in the next fiscal year.
Well, we heard a lot about that from the engagement survey that we did, and I know we have an engagement survey advisory council who's coming with recommendations, and that's at the top of the list: restructuring, reformatting PTO. And maybe by the time this episode airs, we will have. Maybe I'll ask you for a different level of advice. Maybe that one will be checked off. So I think that's you're hitting the nail on the head there. Okay, do you we're all about personal growth and development. I said that, we want your success to be our scorecard, and we really believe that when you come to the river, you're better for it. That's our desire. We want you to be better for your experiences from the river, whether it's for one season or a lifelong of seasons. Do you feel that working at the river has positively impacted your desire for personal growth and development?
Absolutely. I mean, I think even just in the short amount of time, from going from one role to the next and getting into my niche and passion and where I have years of experience in, obviously from just various industries, but it absolutely has. So, I mean, I think it's just the sky's the limit, as I kind of keep saying, but it's more of the exponential growth, which I love that word, is there. So I think it's definitely just pay dividends. It's kind of stay patient, and just keep being a rock star and just keep doing your day to day and keep grinding. And I think you'd be amazed at what new either roles could potentially open up, or a new department that we see a need for that maybe come down the road.
So other than the challenging your brain with jigsaw puzzles with your daughter, how do you sharpen your saw? Like, what do you do to invest in your own personal growth and development that might be helpful to our listeners? I
mean, I do try and listen to a good amount of podcasts when I have a moment.
What are some of your favorite podcasts?
So if it's football season, I listen to the Fantasy Focus. It has like Matthew Berry and Field Yates.
I'm not going to count that as personal growth and development podcast, but that's great. We can link to.
It's more personally and for fantasy football relations only.
Well, that's really important. That's really important. You need that intel for fantasy football. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and then I mean, there are a couple of podcasts too I listen to too. I mean, even the one we had with Pete this morning that did our Thrive series. Yeah, Pete did a fantastic job. Dave Ramsey, I think, has helped ever since we've been married, just dealing with finances and getting a budget together. And there's some things with the debt snowball that we like, and then there's other things where he's like extreme, where he's like cut up your credit cards and other things like that. But that has helped with personal growth from a personal level. Those two are the ones I do, but I mean, there's also ones with like devotions and other stuff that deal with anxiety and stress and more mental health focus. Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned Dave Ramsey and then the Pete Marriott Thrive and Purpose on Financial Wellbeing. Can I recommend a book to you?
Absolutely.
It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
Okay.
It's can I get that for you as a gift?
Absolutely.
For being on this podcast?
That would be great.
It's 20 short chapters. I mean, I read it in less than a week, and I'm not a fast reader. It was phenomenal, but I think you'd really enjoy it. He's such a great writer.
No, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, so what book are you currently reading?
So probably since college, I probably am very, very limited on books I'll actually read. I felt like I got to that point in my life and I was like, I don't even want to see another book. But I mean, we can make Psychology of Money as an audiobook. We can do it that way. That would be great. I mean, like audiobooks probably would just be better. Maybe just at this point in my life, just either crying baby in one hand or trying to help someone do something else, or
I promise you it's an easy read. I promise you it's an easy read. If
Sounds
you
good.
So what show are you currently binge watching?
oh man,
Take me through your shows. Are you?
yeah,
Yeah.
So some of the Marvel shows like Daredevil and Punisher, which I just rewatched them both the second time. Love Jack Ryan, which is on Amazon Prime. And then my wife and I watch all the Chicago shows. So there's like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and then we'll watch always then The Office. And then my wife's a huge Friends fan. So, but we'll watch The Office every day if we have a chance to.
I love The Office. It never gets old.
No.
Are there any shows that you want to watch that you're not currently watching?
So I would love to get into. I keep hearing about Yellowstone keep hearing about it, and I haven't had a chance to get to it quite yet.
I know Manny loves it, swears by it. Others have. My wife watched it, and I tried it. I could, with the horse and everything, I couldn't get. It's but maybe I am clearly missing something. I'm in the minority there because people love it. But if you get into it, let me know what you think.
Absolutely,
because we have. It sounds like we have similar tastes. Okay, so other than jigsaw puzzles and your kids, is there anything else you like to do? To just have fun or relax?
Absolutely. So if it's not like hanging out with friends and or family when they're around too, I mean, going to the movies. And now with like the way COVID is kind of now then too, I mean, my wife and I used to it was always like dinner and a movie. Mm-hmm. Very cliche, but it was always like. That was always like a go-to kind of thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Super simple and just simple taste. But go get a bite to eat and then go to a movie. And
what's the last movie you and your wife have gone to see?
Oh, that's a great question.
Did I stump you on that one?
You stumped me on it probably because it's been a little while since we did that. But we took our daughter to see Sing 2 at Christmas.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah, but that was probably the last movie we saw in the movie theater.
I really enjoyed that movie.
It's a good movie.
Well, the next night, I think we watched Sing 1. Yeah, we had already seen it, but we got on the Sing bandwagon and started watching them all. Well, maybe you guys can go see Sonic the Hedgehog, the new one.
There we go. Maybe I'll put it on the calendar.
There you go. Okay. So to someone who's not a memory maker and they're pondering, like, do I come to the river or not? They're thinking about joining the company. What advice would you offer to that person?
I would say you would be pleasantly surprised, no matter what the opportunity is, right? But just to join the company as a whole, give it a shot. You won't be disappointed. We could probably just keep going with all the catch-22 kind of catchphrases. Yeah. But give us a try. Like, you won't be disappointed. The role's kind of what you're going to make it. Mm-hmm. Growth is there. I mean, we could just keep going probably on and on and on.
Well, Jordan, we could, but we do. These things tend to need to have a time limit. Any final words?
No, I just really I appreciate our conversation and our dialogue and just trying to dive a little deeper here. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks for carving out the time. Like I said, everyone needs a Jordan Reilly in their company, but you can't have ours. He's with the river, and hopefully for many more years to come. Thanks so much for being here to share your story. And hey, guys, that's Stories from the River, the Jordan Reilly episode. If you like this episode, please mash the like button or subscribe. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast or wherever you're listening to it right now today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Jordan, thanks again.
Yes, Charlie, thank you so much.